What is up, guys? Today we're taking a look at patch 6.4. There are quite a few changes, so I'm going to go over the biggest ones that you actually need to know about. We're also going to do something a little new. I'm going to talk about some picks that I think will make a comeback or will suddenly be really strong this patch. Remember, this is just everything you need to know. There are changes like a nerf to Udyr or a buff to Jhin this patch, but these aren't going to affect how much they're played or really change how strong they are, so we're not going to go over them. So let's start with the biggest change this patch for SIVIR. Okay, so this is really good. SIVIR actually wasn't like terrible anyway. The meta kind of forced her out a lot. Right now we have more like carry ADs, like lane bullies and people who can stay safe and deal damage from far away. Think of like Ezreal, Corki, Kalista kind of people. SIVIR is more of a utility AD carry. She's not designed to kill everyone with damage, but to group up, chase people down, and then do a lot of AoE damage instead. I don't really think she'll be like super top tier or OP or anything right now. She still has like an average lane phase, and her short range can kind of screw her over against high damage carries. Once the meta shifts a bit more into her favor anyway, she'll be so ridiculous with this change. So maybe like not OP yet, but in the future, in a few patches, I think she will be. Because of all of this, I think this is the first pick that will make a comeback this patch, so we're going to slap her with a strong this patch. Anyway, moving on to just general champion changes now, and the first one is going to be Ahri. The charm no longer stops dashes, and this is something you need to know, but it's not really going to make a huge difference. It's kind of taking a bit of the skill cap away from Ahri, I guess. Like in some matchups, if you were quick enough with it, then you could win, but if you're too slow, then you'd lose. LeBlanc is going to be a lot better against Ahri now. You're really going to struggle in that matchup, and it will kind of reduce her pick potential a bit. Like she can't hold it now to stop someone jumping away, for example, but it's not too big of a deal. Moving on to ASHE, and this one is actually quite nice. Like the Q stacks now fall off one at a time and the Q duration is up. I've been actually maxing my Q on ASHE recently anyway and trying that out, and it's really strong. She is a utility AD carry, right? She isn't designed to do as much damage as others, kind of like SIVIR. She's designed to have a big impact by setting up fights, creating picks and stuff with her ultimate. She does have a pretty good amount of damage now, especially this actually helps a lot in your lane phase. I'm going to slap her with a second strong this patch, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more of her. So KAITLYN, a lot of people actually, like other YouTubers and stuff, have said this is a really big change, and I actually don't think it's that much of a difference. Okay, the damage is the big difference, like it's a ton of damage, but people don't really step on your traps most of the time anyway. I don't know, it just doesn't solve her big problems. Like, yeah, sure, when people look at it and they think, oh, it's a lot of damage, like, yeah, it is, but she is good when her team is ahead, but bad when they're behind, and it doesn't help that at all. She has a good lane, then a really crap mid game unless you're fed, and her late is amazing, but it's hard to get there. She's still a middle of the pack pick. You can win with her, you can do well with her, but I don't think she's top tier, and I don't think this change is really going to bring her there. So next one, Gangplank. This is actually one of the bigger changes this patch. The gold generation on your Q is now down, and the maximum barrels you can have at one time is also down. Whether you realized it or not, part of the reason GP was such a big problem was because he had so many items all the time. That passive was generating thousands of gold a game and making sure he always had more items than everyone else. Only having 3 barrels will hurt his team fighting a little bit, but it's more hurting the cheesy aspect. Like people could set up huge chains and then blow people up by surprise. Now you're actually going to have to play him properly, so I don't think it's going to make too much difference. He'll still be really good. Now I've been playing this game for way too long, and there was a time when if you thought of assassins in League, KATARINA would have been the first one at the top of the list, and I guess Riot is trying to bring her back a little bit. The fact that your Q no longer reduces the damage per bounce is really big for her lane phase. She can wave clear better, she can poke better, and her lane phase is when you have to shut her down or she just gets crazy. The ratio is nice, I guess, but it's really not a big deal at all. That doesn't make much difference. She's actually already pretty strong, just nobody plays her. The meta is pretty good for her right now. There's a lack of crowd control with assassins everywhere, and with this new change, I think we'll be seeing more of her, so I'm going to give her a strong this patch. Okay, this KOG'MAW change, I'm actually only mentioning this because I think people are going to ask about it a lot. This isn't going to make a ton of difference in the grand scheme of a game. It is a pretty big change, like there is a big chunk off his attack speed, I guess, but you get so much attack speed that you'll end up only really feeling this in the first few levels of the game. Outside of that, he'll still be insanely strong as you level up that W and you get a few items. So I don't think you're really going to feel it too much, and what makes KOG so strong right now is still going to be there. This next one might actually fly under the radar a little bit because it's only a bit of damage, but it's actually not that bad. An extra 40 damage per Q can add up, especially when you're in that face roll combo that you have, and you'll use your Q more than once. Okay, Rise is not the best right now, I'm not going to say that, but once people relearn his combo with the new passive and stuff, I think we'll see some more of him. So if you actually are good at Rise anyway, you might want to try him again this patch. So Shen, again, very quick on this guy because it's a small change, but it makes a little bit of a difference, I guess. Jungle Shen is back. He may not be top tier. Well, he's not top tier. His clear speed is so bad, but he is now a little bit better. Jungle Shen, as a general idea, is actually pretty good. Like, your ganks are okay, and you have your ultimate that really helps your lanes out. It's just that your clear was so bad, you never get any gold or any levels. First one is the MERC treads, and this is going up to 30% again. Not quite where it was before, but it's better for now. You can once again buy it and it's actually good. The thing kind of is, like, we're not in a heavy CC meta at the moment. Like, most picks are high damage instead, if you think about it. Eventually it always does this, okay? Crowd control counters assassins, so when the meta and games are full of assassins, people start picking more CC, and then the MERC treads are going to be useful again. The next one, the MANAMUNE Mana. People kept asking me what I thought about this nerf, and well, I think it's a buff. I don't think it's a nerf. MANAMUNE gets a passive stacking now, so in theory you stack faster. That's good. That is exactly what we want. The Mana again is basically the same. It's even better for like worse players who forget to turn it on actually. Now you can't use the bonus damage for minions anymore. You can't use it to rush down objectives or push quickly. That kind of sucks, but I don't think it really makes much difference at all. That's not really why you buy Mana anyway. Like, okay, basically if they introduce this item now, right, think about it, and it just didn't affect minions, people would still buy it because it's still really strong, so it's not going to stop people now either. The last item change I want to talk about is STERAK'S Gage, and I'm really sad about this one. This was like the go-to counter for AD carries to shut down assassins, and now they've nerfed it. I do get it, it was too strong on bruisers, and well, I guess some AD carries too, but we don't really have many more options now. I guess this is kind of turning into more of an offensive item, I guess, rather than defensive. Like, they want you to buy it for the damage component, not just the shield. For AD carries specifically, I reckon this patch will see the return of Guardian Angels, honestly. I think it's okay to buy, especially versus assassins, and we're running out of ways to stay alive. The last two things are mastery changes, and Warlord's Bloodlust is being completely reworked. Basically, as you lose health, you now gain lifesteal. The super glass cannon build for AD carries is like Essence Reaver, attack speed item, Infinity Edge. That is crazy damage and 40% CDR, but it gives you no lifesteal. So what about if we do that, but we take Warlords to try and keep us a bit healthier? That is the first thing that came to my mind. Is like, if we're going to build lifesteal in the game anyway, then what's the point of taking this, honestly? Like, it's not really as good as Fervor, it's not going to be as much damage, so there's no point. If we're going to take this glass cannon build and not build lifesteal though, it actually may pay off in the long run. So honestly, I don't know if this will work, but it's interesting and I will be definitely testing that out. Exposed Weakness is a brand new mastery in the Ferocity tree on the second row down, so like with the feast and stuff that gives you health back when you kill a minion. This is really for supports, maybe junglers and top laners. I think it's more of a utility thing, and in the tooltip it says nothing about only working for spells, but trying it in game it seems to only work for spells and not auto attacks. Now that is a big difference if that is actually how it works. It kind of makes sense, but we're gonna have to see which way Riot meant that to be, I guess. This isn't going to be the biggest change really. It might help a little bit in team fights, but I don't think it's going to change much really. Anyway, that wraps up patch 6.4, everything you need to know to play and not be caught off guard. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, but for now, as always, I'm going to leave you with the good old robots.